In this video, I will show you step by step how to create an original switch. This unique switch will allow you to turn a lamp on and off using gravity, simply by rotating it. The operating principle is quite simple and easy to achieve. I use a small vial or jar with a cork stopper, into which I insert two small metal nails that do not touch each other. I then add small brass, copper, or metal beads. These beads will create an electrical contact between the two nails when the vial is rotated. You will find the list of necessary materials in the description below the video, as well as direct links to the items I purchased and used in this workshop. Choose a silicone mold that inspires you to create the shape you like. The epoxy resin will then be poured into this mold. Cut about 2 mm from the cork stopper using a cutter or scalpel on the part that will be inserted into the vial. Insert 2 nails into the cork stopper, making sure their ends do not touch on either side. Add the beads to the vial. The quantity will depend on your preference. However, a minimum of 2 mm is necessary to ensure good conductivity. Using wire cutters, cut the nails, leaving a length of 3 mm. With a soldering iron, tin the ends of the nails. To wire the switch, I use a brass rod typically used for industrial soldering. I got it from a professional tool store. A simple electrical cable also works. When forming the electrical bridge, make sure it is not too large. It should not touch the sides of the silicone mold. Once the electrical bridge cables are ready, secure the vial on a fixed support. Then solder one cable to the switch. If you wish, decorate the electrical cable with a cotton cord. The link to the cord, visible in the description of this video, is suitable for a 1.5 square millimeter electrical cable. Strip the electrical cable. I use small wire cutters, but other tools and techniques are also suitable. Make sure not to cut into the protection of the phase and neutral wires. Tin the cables. . To create a solid connection between the electrical cable, the cotton cord, and the epoxy resin, I use heat shrink tubing with a diameter of 10 mm. Cut a length of about 4 centimeters. After putting the heat shrink tubing in place, heat it with a small torch or lighter so it shrinks completely. With a marker, mark on the silicone mold the locations where the two parts of the electrical cable will be. With a relatively sharp object, perforate the mold on both sides. Then use a scalpel to enlarge the holes and make them more or less round. Be careful. Their diameters must remain smaller than the diameter of the electrical cable to ensure perfect sealing when the epoxy resin is poured. Insert the electrical cables and check that they are in good contact with the silicone mold. If there are small gaps, it is not important as they will be filled later with a glue gun. Pull on the electrical cables to have enough play to handle them without difficulty. Then solder the switch with the electrical cables according to the previous diagram. Position the switch in the mold. Make sure the mold has the shape you want and that no part of the switch is in contact with it, except for the electrical cables. Using a glue gun, glue around each electrical cable to ensure perfect sealing. The epoxy resin is very liquid, and even the smallest space could allow it to leak. Secure the creation with a heavy object to keep the mold in place during the pouring of the epoxy resin. The epoxy resin I use has a mixing ratio of 1:1. Meaning it is necessary to mix the same quantity of resin from each of the two containers. Once the resin is well mixed, pour it slowly into the mold to limit the formation of air bubbles. Let it rest for 5 minutes, then, using a small torch, heat the resin to dissipate the air bubbles. After a drying time of 24 hours, remove the silicone mold. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions.